Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Morning in the Valley, Monday, September the 29th. Hope you had a good weekend. 35 days away from getting rolling on November the 3rd. Glad you're with us. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, we're going to begin our preseason look at all 11 Missouri Valley Conference teams. I guess all 22, all 11 schools, all 22 teams on the men's and women's sides. We're going to talk some Southern Illinois Salukis basketball for both the men and the women. And we'll catch up with Luke Martin, the radio voice of the Salukis men, coming up in just a few minutes. If you haven't done so already, please head over to YouTube, subscribe to Morning in the Valley. It is free, of course. No charge, no admission charge for this nonsense. But if you can subscribe for free, help us out, share, like, comment, subscribe, complain, gripe, whatever you want to do. We appreciate all of your support throughout this summer. And now, gosh, been doing this almost 6 months and ready to roll here in 5 weeks from today. It is officially go time. Today. Thought today might be kind of a big day for folks in the Missouri Valley world. At this moment, the guys from the Field of 68, Rob Doster, Jeff Goodman, holding their 3-hour media day, talking to all the coaches and from on the men's side from the Valley. And somewhere along the line, there was at least some conversation about we get some preseason polls today. Thought maybe through the Field of 68 show we would see it. But we are an hour in, and unless I inadvertently dozed off for more than 30 seconds, we have not seen a preseason poll. No emails have come in from the league. Hey, by the way, all schedules, still haven't gotten those yet either for the conference side. As we talked last week, we had some preliminary schedules. Still nothing going on. If the word of the year is anticipation, boy, oh boy, the folks at the Valley offices in St. Louis are doing a masterful job of having us all on pins and needles waiting for preseason polls. And we're not getting preseason teams this year. We knew that already, but no preseason polls, no conference schedules. So we wait and we wait and we wait. One thing we do not have to wait for is our guest today. He is Luke Martin. He is not only the radio voice for both Southern Illinois men's basketball, for football, for baseball, but now Luke Martin is officially the assistant athletic director for broadcast services. And for the first time on Morning in the Valley, we welcome in a athletic director, even an assistant.
How about that?
I mean, this is big time for you.
It's big time.
I mean, you're now a suit. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. And slumming it with the little people. So welcome, Luke Martin.
Hey, it's good to be with you, Jeff. Yeah, anticipation, right? That is the word right now for everybody. Great anticipation. Ready for the schedule. I mean, we're almost in October and we still don't even know what the schedule is going to be yet.
Yeah. I like when everybody on September 1st was getting cranky. I was like, look, it was September 20th last year. We've got time still. And yes, September 20th is now very much in the rear view. And, I said, I know last week preliminary schedules got sent out, and now we're in that, hey, we need some, we need everybody to make sure there's no oversights, no conflicts. And maybe this week, I'm surprised that we just haven't gotten, and again, this is like the most first world problem complaint thing of like, we turned in our ballots 10 days ago, and I was like, can we just get them? Can we get something? Some trickle of news out here at some point. I'm dying here, Luke. Just give me a crack. I don't even need the Ritz. Just give me a saltine. I'm hungry.
All I know is I'm going to be sending an email to Kern and be like, how is Morning in the Valley not debuting all the schedules? I mean, that's what I want to know. I mean, I get Field of 68 and, those guys do a great job, but like I figure Morning in the Valley. I mean, what better way to start the morning than a conference schedule dump? I mean, let's go.
From your lips to God's ears, Luke Martin. From your lips to God. I feel like if I called Mike Kern for anything right now, that my name in his phone is just listed under nuisance. So that's probably why we do not have any late breaking news here. I appreciate you tearing yourself away from your football duties to be able to again slum it with us today. It is practices have begun in Carbondale. Don't know how much time you've gotten with the football duties to stick your nose in the gym, but what's the general air around the program right now?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to believe that it's only been a week, Jeff, of official practice getting underway. Been able to, like you said, to step inside, at least to watch and The energy level has always been good. You know you're going to have that, especially once you get in the season mode. And as Coach Nagy told me last week on our coaches show that we had, he's like, yeah, day 2 wasn't very good. For 90 minutes, then you try to stack those days, it can get pretty difficult. But to me, it's just, the things you want to see carry over from the summer. I think you've seen that carry over into the little bit in the fall that I've seen the conditioning. I mean, that's really the biggest change as you go from just really trying to get integrated on the court in your summer months to then once you get back on campus in August, a lot of focus is on your conditioning program, which is what SIU has been doing. And then once you get towards the end of September, like we are now, and you get into in-season mode, you start building that grind of that daily schedule. And that's really where they have been over the last week. And, but man, I've really enjoyed just being around this team. We had our media day at the end of the week last week, and just the amount of laughter that you hear, you could really sense that the joy the guys have around one another. That doesn't always equate to wins now. You hope that will ultimately come, but man, just in terms of the energy level, what's been most encouraging to me, Jeff, is when you start to watch practices now, you got to ultimately prove it on the floor. And that's what's going to happen here very shortly. But you can start to see some of the pieces come together, and you can see where, all right, I know why Coach Nagy's pretty positive in this aspect of the team. I know why this could maybe be a strength. You're starting to see those strengths really get developed, and you hope that's the case as we get cranked up here over the next couple of weeks and before we'll officially be in basketball season, my brother.
Before we dive into what we're expecting this season, I really, and I have to just imagine this is all due to your new title. We have done this show a couple times with you the last couple of months, and it's really been, you look like you've been in a closet. It looks like it's been some sort of like, I needed to ask you to hold up a newspaper, some sort of proof of life.
Mike Reese closet. Yes.
Yeah, sure. And now, fancy podcast studio that you guys have put together there in Carbondale. I mean, big time. You can't hide money in Carbondale, apparently.
I mean, Brendan Mullins, our mutual friend, just kept giving me crap and said, hey, when are you going to get a studio like Jeff Bidwell? So I'm like, that's what we've tried to do. I mean, I still got a ways to go to add a lot of stuff here around me, but I'm trying Brendan Mullins. I'm trying to be like Jeff.
I literally just have a shelf of crap my wife wouldn't allow anywhere else in the house, and we use it as a tax write-off. So, it's a studio, whatever. So, okay, yes. Let's hop into the preview before we look at this year, last year, 14-19, 8-12, year one of the Scott Nagy era. Get the buzzer beater to beat Indiana State and St. Louis before falling to the ultimate Missouri Valley Conference champ in Drake. With 6-7 months perspective on last year, what's the overriding feeling of the year as a whole, and then trying to spin it forward into this year?
And really, I think it's trying to be as respectful as you can be, Jeff, but I think the census is, thank goodness year one is over.
Sure.
I think that's really the biggest thing you feel. And for a lot of reasons, I don't think the coaching staff is going to put all of it on the actual team. I mean, there was a lot of movement. This was the first time Coach Nagy didn't bring a ton of people with him from Wright State. Tay Gibbs was the only assistant that came with them. So you had a whole new coaching staff was new. You had a whole team and a roster where no one knew what the next day would really look like. I think that showed throughout the season, especially early on when this team was really trying to find its way. Man, some of those games early on in the season were really tough to sit through and go through and watch, definitely from a fan's perspective and those around the program. But give them credit. They did get on a run there in Valley play to make it look more respectable. I mean, it was on a tone where it was like, man, it's probably going to be the Salukis and the Bears towards the bottom of the league battling it out there when you looked at the start of that league schedule. And Southern, no doubt, I think earned respect as they went throughout the year. But now you've lost Kennard Davis Jr., who's now at BYU, and by most publications I've been reading, he may end up starting for BYU, which would be a tremendous accomplishment for Kennard. Obviously, Ali Diba, he has moved on. He got that extra year, but he's going to be at Texas A&M. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions right now for this Saluki team of where is that scoring going to come from? You assume guys like Isaiah Stafford who are coming in, and some of these new pieces are no doubt going to add to it. But in terms of what do you take away from last year, it's you need some continuity. I think we found that out throughout the league, Jeff. I mean, you can have a lot of pieces and guys, and look, even though Drake and Coach McCollum that group didn't have a ton of shared experience together in Des Moines. They had a ton of shared experience on a basketball court, regardless of where that basketball court was. You have to find that. And still with that, you have 6 returners from that team last year. I think all 6 for SIU that they wanted. They would have loved to have a few guys back, but the 6 that they got back, they liked those guys. With Damian Mayo kind of being the vocal leader, Drew Steffi, who's a Murray State fan favorite. We know, we've talked about that. Jeff, he is back, and I think is no doubt going to make some strides this year. But you look at, if Southern wants to be a team, I know we're going to get into that in a moment. But to me, if you have so much, or at least 6 guys coming back like SIU has, if you're going to be in the hunt, if you're going to be a team that's going to compete for a championship, one of those 6 guys, if not a couple, are going to have to be in the running for most improved player. Sure. Because out of those 6 guys, none of those guys who are coming back were what you were dominant players a year ago. So if SIU hopes to be a team that's competing towards the upper half of the league, you're going to have some of those guys, 1 or 2 of them, I think, make that type of jump to clearly be guys throughout the league where you go, man, that guy just got so much better.
When you look at the departures, and look, Jared Hensley graduates. You said Ali Deba, he goes to Texas A&M. Kennard Davis to BYU. Elijah Elliott, who, gosh, he was such a offensive weapon for you before he tears his ACL at Florida. Only played a handful of games, but I mean, those are 4 double-digit scores that you lose when you look back. If you could, and I guess we'll take Hensley off the table since he's graduated. But of the other 3, if there's one that's going to have, not that you could keep him, but more of like, boy, the skills he brought to the table, that is the biggest hole we have to fill. Who is it?
Gosh, Kennard did so many great things. He showed his scoring ability last year, really for the first time at that high end of a level. But man, how he could affect a game defensively, Jeff, was just really remarkable. And I think that's really going to show at his days at BYU here upcoming this season. But man, Ali Deba could just score at such a high clip, and you could always count on in his speed, especially his first step. Coach Nagy said it countless times last year that he's never coached a guy that had as quick of a first step as Ali Deba did. So I think those 2 I would put, because Elijah, we just didn't see a lot of him. And now losing him and not having a true point guard, that really affected this team last year. You've had me on your show multiple times. We don't have to rehash all of those things. But I definitely think in terms of when you encompass everything that somebody embodied, I mean, Kennard Davis did a lot for this team. And you're going to have to, find the scoring output. And I think this team will. I think there's a lot of guys on this team that can no doubt put the ball through the hoop. The question is, as it was a struggle last year, Southern was not a great defensive team last year either. It's just Kennard was one of the better defenders on the team. That's where this team for SIU this year, they're going to have to come up with that production loss, Jeff, because if they want to make just to be in the top half of the league, let alone trying to win the league, but just to compete and be in the top half of the league, you have to be grinders on defense and be willing to get stops. And that's what the Salukis team's got to do. The
transfer portal taketh away, but the transfer portal giveth
Absolutely.
as well. And when you talk about the key additions, I feel like, look, Prince Aligbe is a big time get. Played at Boston College, played at Seton Hall, gives you some size up front. But it feels like this conversation in terms of the keyest of key additions kind of begins and ends with Isaiah Stafford.
Isaiah Stafford's right up there. And when he's healthy, as I think everyone has been saying, the summer months, you could tell he was still really trying to get back just in the shape. And what's been great over the last, I'd say really the last month, you could tell Zay is at his peak, that he is getting back to what would be, I guess, an old version of himself. But he also knows that the previous version of Isaiah Stafford is not necessarily the version that this team needs.
Right.
He knows there's a lot of weapons on this group. I think Isaiah, and deservedly so, deserves a lot of attention, and not to take it away from him. But I know we'll get to this guy, but Kelron House may be the best addition to this team this year, Jeff. What he has brought in terms of just that point guard consistency spot each and every day. Everyone wants to say, man, this guy's got a lot of dog in him. I think Kelron House is the definition of a dog. He is going to fight you each and every possession. You've seen that throughout the summer. You've seen that in his workouts. And again, we know what Isaiah has proved at a really high level in our league, just with another team. I think Kelron on a team in Jacksonville State that did go and beat Georgia Tech in the NIT. He's got experience winning games at this level. Now with another year under his belt, I think at the end of the year, that's a guy where most fans, I think, will go, man, I think he was maybe the biggest addition to the Salukis team, mostly because that's a position they needed desperately a year ago, having so many guys have to play out of position. But yes, Isaiah, no doubt, he deserves the eyeballs. A tremendous kid as well. That's what I've loved to get to know him. And obviously our mutual friend, Paul Orr, have read so much about what he did at Valpo and the first class dude that he was there. So that's not a surprise to see that's carried over here to Carbondale. But I think fans here that have been able to go to practice are really eager to see Kelron House and the impact he can make.
The returners, you lose all your double-digit scores from a year ago, but you talk about dogs, and certainly your friend and mine, Drew Steffi, kind of at the top of that list. Just in terms of what he and Damian Mayo and Davion Sykes, just in terms of continuity and bringing those guys back, and they're going to have expanded roles, you would assume, on some level this year. Where is your confidence in them, and where is their confidence in themselves that they are going to be able to shoulder a little more burden for Coach Nagy this year?
I would definitely say, Drew, you've seen his confidence grow a ton, and it has to grow. It grew throughout last year. The area that he still wants to get better at, and has said in countless interviews, I believe he did with you as well, Jeff, is he's got to get better defensively. He does feel like he's gotten better defensively over the summer. We know he can shoot it, and he's shown that ability. He hasn't shot at the level I know he knows that he can still shoot it at consistently. But Davion, who you bring up too, Davion can just do so much for this group. And when you look at guys who could make a massive jump, not that all of them can't make huge jumps, but because of Davion's size, because of his athleticism, because of his versatility, because of all the different things he can do for this team, he can rebound. He can be one of the better defenders on this team. Now, he's not necessarily going to be a guy that's going to go out, as we said, like Ali Deba or Kennard and get you 15 or 20 a night. Man, if he can stick to the script of just being one of those grinders, guys who are just going to absolutely just attack the boards relentlessly throughout the night, be someone defensively, he's going to embrace every challenge. It can switch 1 through 5. That is someone I really hope that you're asking me about come December when the league play gets really ramped up, of saying, man, Davion Sykes seems like he's made a major step because if he can, it opens up a lot of versatility within this team. They believe they have a ton of versatility. To have that versatility, I think Davion Sykes, Prince Aligbe, who you brought up, those guys are going to have to be those versatile guys for Coach Nagy, of where they have the ability to maybe go a little bit small without really hurting themselves defensively too.
9th in turnovers in conference last year, 12th in turning teams over, sort of a lethal combination. And part of that, not having a true point guard, probably impacted a lot of that. Is that a fixable number this year? Is that something that you think can be a substantial improvement? Well, going from 12th to 6th even, I mean, that can go win you games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest talking point, Jeff, that the coaches have been making to the team this year is just you can't beat yourself in so many areas. You can't have so many self-inflicted wounds. And there were a lot of those last year that SIU had, and you very eloquently shared those numbers. And those are real numbers now. That's right. You could say, hey, you didn't have this, you didn't have that, but that's the bulk of your season. And that's where you hope having a guy like Kelron kind of leading the way offensively for you as a group at the point guard spot can share that, but also way more maturity. There's a lot of veterans on this team, and that's where, again, you talk about continuity. Even though may not be shared continuity together, these guys have had a lot of experience playing basketball, and you hope that ultimately will impact those numbers the most, especially once you get in the league play, because, man, these teams are so good. And sure. I really hope that the league lives up to the standard that it has been. When you've done a great job, Jeff, throughout the summer and ultimately here in the fall, doing a lot of the analytical stuff that Bart Torvik and all those sites put out of kind of the expectation of where the league looks like they'll be. And it looks like it's going to be a good year from an analytical standpoint. And you hope that holds true. But, man, you're going to have to clean those numbers. Any team that's in the bottom of the league in those categories, you're going to be the bottom of the standings. I mean, it's just so hard to be able to not be productive in those two categories. And like you said, it doesn't like you have to go from dead last to first.
Right.
If you can just get to the middle of the pack, that's going to give you so many more opportunities and chances and possessions to win games.
The one thing defensively, you guys did really well last year, 4th in the league in keeping opponents off the free throw line, and then 4th in 2-point defense, just that interior size. I guess just on September 29th, where is the defensive optimism coming from with this bunch right now?
Out of the guys that I saw in the summer come back in the fall, and to get to your number, where you were talking about the interior defense, I don't know if I've seen anybody, especially during my time here at SIU, that has made such a jump like Jaheim Weber has. Jaheim Weber hasn't gotten a lot of publicity, mostly because in the summer, he redshirted last year, and then in the summer had a fluke injury that happened, couldn't do anything for virtually a month, Jeff. And I've been around guys who have gotten bumped in the summer, and when they have to sit out for almost a month period of time, don't want to say you stick a fork in most of those guys, but most of the time It's like they miss so much time and conditioning. By the time they even get caught up, you're almost already halfway through the year. And that's no joke or exaggeration there for those that have been around programs. But I'm telling you, when Jaheim came back in August, he was a different beast. And he was able to capitalize on about the last 2 weeks of the summer workouts. He's come back and been in great condition. Coach Watson and I, we share so much communication throughout the year. Rodney Watson, who does our broadcast with me. And look, our coaches have always said they love the depth that they can have in the interior. It was kind of one of those things as the summer was going along, like, can kind of see it, but I don't know if I fully buy that. Man, with what Jaheim has done, Rollins as well, with his improvement, Jorge Moreno has really made major strides, especially from a physicality standpoint and conditioning standpoint to stay out on the floor. Those are all areas now, Jeff, where I'm going again. That's one of the areas where I'm like, I can see that. I can see where that interior defense can really be a strength of this team. And that's where, Coach Nagy wants to really push a lot of the offense. He wants teams to have to go towards the lane and get towards the middle of that defense. It's really kind of their strategy, and to really utilize some of those big bodies that they can have. But I am so excited for Jaheim Weber. I think Jaheim is really on the cusp of having a really big year, because, again, in the summer, felt really bad for him. That it was just kind of like, man, this guy's got a tough break, just probably going to be a tough year for him, but he has set no excuses, and really excited to see what he brings to that position group this year for this team.
If there is one thing about schedules we've heard from every coach at this level forever, boil down, scheduling is hard. 4 home games, I know that is not in the non-conference. That is not ideal in any stretch, but from the metric standpoint, it's kind of a home run. You get Kansas City, you get UT Martin, Little Rock, which look like they could be better. Their best players out for the year, so that's suddenly now those are absolute gots to have at home. Keep your home folks happy, but take care of business. Your Jacksonville MTE is I kind of described it like it was the MTE musical chairs, and the music stopped and you had 10 schools that kind of looked around like, I don't have anything to you. Let's go to Jacksonville. And so you're going to get Delaware and UAB down there. UAB could be a quad 2 type game for you. Your heavy lifting's coming on the road, and to go to Memphis and Nevada and High Point and Richmond and North Dakota State, those are your opportunities. And everything I've talked about is, this whole summer, everything's through the prism of, we need multi-bids. We need metric, quality type of games. Those 5 road games are maybe as good top to bottom as anybody in the conference of the challenges that are there, but they are not, you're not going and playing Duke and North Carolina and Purdue. Those are games you can go get. It's just a matter of, can you be healthy when you get there and play your best and go pick off a few of those?
Yes, and I've been hinting a lot in these interviews, Jeff, of how this team really enjoys being around each other. Well, you're going to find out when you're on the road that much. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of travel, as you described. The Salukis radio travel budget has definitely gone up
I can only
this
imagine.
year.
I can only imagine.
I mean, and heck, and even for football, the last month we've been on the road. It's like, man, my goodness, we're not going to have a lot of home radio broadcasts this year for Salukis radio. But all joking aside, it could really turn into a positive, Jeff, because when you have to go on the road that much and to win the league, you're going to have to be good on the road. And when you're going to go up against Memphis, when you're going to go up against Nevada, when you're going to go up against these teams, and even, the trip to Fargo, North Dakota State has been consistently a team in the Summit League that is competing for that championship year in and year out. Those are really good tests for this team in the non-con. And if this team truly enjoys being around each other, I think being on the road is only going to increase that bond for this group. And then ultimately, as we get into the Valley schedule, I know the Valley schedule isn't public yet. It's going to come out here at some point, but the little sneak peek that I have been able to get at for SIU, it's going to be a really tough start to that league schedule. So, I mean, it's one of those areas, Jeff, where, all right, you just got to go play the games. And for this team, they're ready to play. I think everybody, well, the coaches will say they're not ready to play, but the players are ready to play. They're ready to go out there against somebody else. They're tired of going up against one another. And that's what's going to be the most exciting thing, is that they're really going to get this thing, rolling here in a couple of weeks. And you'll have your couple exhibitions, which Austin P and Lindenwood, and then you'll get into the meat of that schedule. And I said, not going to be home very often, which means when you are at home, you got to take advantage of it too.
All right, a couple rapid fires. I've kept you a little longer than I wanted to this morning.
Hey,
Under the
anything
radar.
for you, Jeff.
Bless your heart. Bless your heart. Until it's season, and then we're pushing each
Oh
other.
yeah,
So,
of course,
100%.
Yeah.
Under the radar guy this year that maybe Saluki fans may not have top of mind right now, and you might have tipped your hand a little bit.
I think Jaheim Weber. Yeah, I mean, I think Jaheim Weber. Now, I think fans are excited for him, but for a guy that redshirted last year, didn't get any time on the floor, and what I have seen early on, I think Jaheim Weber could really be a key guy for the Salukis team this year.
Biggest concern coming into the year?
I think biggest concern, is no doubt just the continuity piece. These are guys, you do have 6 returners coming back, but if you want to be the team that you want to be, Jeff, I don't think all of those 6 guys can't be your best players.
Yeah.
You're going to need those impact guys that come in and make an impact, and how do they gel? I think those are the biggest questions.
Biggest optimism coming into the season?
I think biggest optimism is you got a lot of pieces. I think there's way more pieces than you had a year ago. Still maybe not a ton of quote unquote true depth at the point guard spot once you get past Kelron, but I think there are guys, whether it's Isaiah, whether it's others, that can still use that role and switch guys through when you look at their positions on the floor. But to me, there is way more depth with this team than you had a year ago.
Blue Ribbon Yearbook had the Salukis 6th in their preseason poll. What's the ceiling for this team? And maybe more broadly, February 1st, does this team have the goods to still be in the conversation for a conference championship?
Absolutely. I think they do. But again, Jeff, like, everyone wants to get all up in arms about preseason polls. And
that's why we want them.
I know. I get it. It's great for fans, but it's like, look, I think we all know Illinois State pretty much almost a consensus preseason number 1. No doubt Bradley, Northern Iowa, I think deserve recognition in that conversation too. Once we get past that, I mean, you got to prove yourself. And those teams still got to prove themselves too. I mean, you don't get anything for just being the preseason favorite. And I think we're going to get a lot of answers early on in the season. But to me, I mean, it's fair where Southern is at, especially compared to what you are bringing back and what you think you got in the portal. But now you got to go prove it. But in terms of what is the ceiling, if this team believes that they're the team that they are and the pieces that they have are going to be the quality additions that they want to be, I don't see why this is a team that cannot be competing there in the upper half of this league and hopefully be in the thick of it once we get to late January and early February.
And maybe, and again, to expand it out a little bit, 11 teams. So now it's the top 5 get buys. So that's kind of the top 5 or the top 5 teams don't have to play on Thursday. That's kind of that it feels, again, September 29th, it's a free for all this year. 1 through 7, maybe 1 through 8. It is a fist fight. I don't want to have to play 4 games in St. Louis. I just want to have to play 3.
Absolutely.
And that's just kind of it feels like if I can't be 1, I just don't want to be 6th or below.
Absolutely. And that should be your expectation. And I think there's a lot of teams who, of course, are going to believe that they're going to be within that reach to get to that point. But to answer your question, if Southern, the expectations internally in the program, absolutely. I mean, you're going to have to be in that time, because if not, as you said, Jeff, I mean, not that it can never happen. I know Valpo a couple years back was able to make the run all the way to the title game, but like, it's just, again, you never want to say anything's impossible, but man, that's just a really tough task, especially in today's day and age of college basketball.
Too many good teams. There's no layups in St. Louis, just as Northern Iowa last year. There's no layups. And so to have to put 4 consecutive days like that is just, it's brutal. But that's why we play the games, and we will start playing the games on November the 3rd. He is Luke Martin. He is the Southern Illinois men's basketball radio voice, and most importantly, assistant athletic director for broadcast services. We have business cards made up with that, a license plate, T-shirts. You selling merch? What's happening with that?
All I know is I got to talk to Nico to try to get you a higher title, just so I can make some fun with you too, Jeff. So I'm going to be in the works on that.
I will decline the promotion just so I have the leverage on you. So, Luke Martin, thank you for the time, Chief. We will.
Thanks, Jeff. Always good to see you, brother.
All right, brother. Thank you. There's my guy, Luke Martin, and they got pieces. They have a lot back, and they said really just when you look at the top from last year, the top of the pyramid, those 4 double-digit scores, that's a lot to replace. But they've got that undercurrent of folks, sort of that next tier that they can step up, and these guys come in, as he said, the Kelron Houses and the Isaiah Staffords and the Ligbays, and 6 might be low. But look, we're going to do this, and over the next couple of weeks, we're going to go through all these teams, and there's probably 8 teams in the end that I'm going to be like, yeah, they should be in the top 5. Unfortunately, you can only get 5 in the top 5, and that's just part of the math of the whole thing. But they are going to be an interesting team this year to watch, no doubt. All right, time to turn our attention now to the Southern Illinois women, who get ready for year number 4 of the Kelly Bond White era. Last year, just a nightmare for sure. 4-28, 2-18 in the Missouri Valley Conference. Lost their final 10 games, fell to Illinois State in the opening round of the tournament, 88-48. It was just a mess of a year. And so much of it just turned into the situation, as like say, I mean, they were taking a sport to a gunfight. I mean, they were so beat up and they were so hurt. I mean, they had 3, Karis Allen did not play, lost to a season-ending injury. Angela Samuel out for the year. Janiyah Thompson, who started 6 of the first 8 games, then she was hurt and lost for the year. I mean, we were up there with Murray State, and you're watching practice, and you're just like, where's the rest of the team? I mean, they were so beat up by the end of the year. It was just, you just needed to get to the end. And thankfully, I guess mercifully they did. And now it's trying to rebuild and trying to get ready for year 4, and an important year, certainly for Coach Bond White, for this program. It is the last 3 years. It has been, one step back. And again, there are reasons and there's excuses. I think last year there was definitive reasons why it was such a struggle when you have that many key kids that were just hurt and you never saw them on the floor. And this year now, it is a bit of a rebuild, but they have a lot of pieces back, including those 3 kids that were hurt last year. That's almost found money that you bring them in as almost recruits, but you didn't have them a year ago, and now you do. And how much of an upswing can that be for the Salukis? Time will tell. When we talk about departures, there is no more key departure, period, hard stop, than Gift Uchenna. She was unbelievable last year. 14.5 points, 12.8 rebounds per game. One of only 2 players in America last year that had those numbers. She went into the transfer portal at the end of the year, left for Wisconsin. Isabella Palmquist, who averaged 8 points a game. She was the 3rd leading scorer on the team. She was a freshman from Denmark. She has gone back to Denmark. She's playing there professionally now. but the Salukis lost 4 of their top 6 scorers from a year ago, but no more impactful player than Gift Uchenna, especially when you just look at all of their numbers last year were at the bottom, essentially at the bottom of the league. I mean, they were 11th in points per game in scoring offense, 11th in scoring defense, 11th in field goal percentage, 12th in field goal percentage allowed. Now, they were 12th in field goal percentage allowed. Murray State was 11th in field goal percentage allowed, and they went to the NCAA tournament. So that's not a complete death sentence of a statistic, but it was, again, at the bottom of the league. They were last in the Valley in three-point shooting. They were last in the Valley in three-point defense. But if there was one thing they were really good at, was rebounding the basketball. 7th in the league in rebounding, 3rd in the league in offensive rebounding. And a big reason is because of that young lady right there, Gift Uchenna. Again, she's gone. They're going to have to replace that work on the glass this year, and that is going to be a substantial piece of the puzzle for Kelly Bond White. When we talk about additions, this may be as impactful of an addition as we have seen as well in India Green, who spent a couple of years at Missouri State. Last year, she was at Georgia Southern. 12 points, almost 9 rebounds a game, comes in, brings physicality on the inside, and that's the one. She's the one that I think we can really point to as, I don't know that you can fully replace the numbers that Gift Uchenna put up, but India Green is going to do her best to try to duplicate that for SIU this year. When we talk about returners, they have their number 2 scorer back this year in Kayla Cooper. Cooper last year averaging almost 10 points a game. They've got Kai Nelson back as well. She averaged 6.5. But again, I think the part that is lost in this is that you get these 3 kids back as well who were almost just last year lost. And it was, Janiyah Thompson, who was averaging 6 points a game as a 5'10" guard, and it's size that's coming back too that I think is important. Karis Allen, 6 foot. Angela Samuel, 6'2". So you're just bringing an influx of size into this lineup and rotation for Kelly Bond White that hopefully will be able to, again, they're not going from 12th to 1st in these categories. But boy, if you can get back up into the middle of the pack, you're going to be able to win some games. And at least it feels, and we haven't seen anybody play a game yet, but it feels that the top of the league has settled a little bit this year. There was a definitive line in the sand last year between, we talk about the top 6, bottom 6. UIC was 7th, and I think we can put them in the top as, they were the only team in the bottom 6 to beat anybody from the top 6, and they beat the 2 co-champs in Murray State and Missouri State last year. But it just feels like they're settled a little bit. So how much can SIU come up from the bottom and maybe work their way up the ladder a little bit and see if they can compete for a middle of the pack spot this season? When we talk about the non-conference schedule for the Salukis, look, they need wins. They just need wins. They need confidence for this team this year. That's as much as what I believe. They got 5 home games. You've got 2 non-D1s. You've got Austin Peay, Western Kentucky, and SEMO. Western Kentucky last year would be a quad 3 game. The other 2 are quad 4s. Great. You're going neutral site games. You're going to play Winthrop and Arkansas. That's a Q3 and a Q4. And then on the road, you're going to be challenged at Mizzou. You're going to play Purdue Fort Wayne, who was a quad 2 last year, and then UAB is a quad 3. It's a manageable non-conference schedule. And that is what I think in the end is the manageable. I mean, you look at it. I think they can win more than half. I mean, you've got 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 10. We got 10 non-conference games. I mean, I think 5-5 is doable. They won 4 games all of last year, so going 5-5 in the non-conference would be a substantial win for them. And that's just win your home games. Win those 5 at home. Go steal 1 on the road or at the neutral site, and now you're at 6-4, and you're feeling like $1 million. But this year is just a lot about stay healthy. That in the end, in so many ways, is just the absolute key for everything with this team. Stay healthy. To lose 3 kids last year to season-ending injuries is just I don't know. I can't imagine the conversations that went on in Kelly Bond's White Office with her and her coaching staff around those tables, just going, what have we done in a formal life to have all this happen at one time? But you get those three back. You got a young lady named Elena Krause coming in, played sparingly at Oral Roberts last year. She averaged about 3.5 points a game, 5'8" guard, nearby Oakville, Illinois, local kid. So, there's going to be support there for her. I think she can come in and really help. They've gotten some kids out of the 2 JUCO kids, 1 NAIA out of the transfer portal as well. But for me this year, when you look at their, the additions, but the returners, there's almost a melding of the two because of the returnees that were hurt last year and didn't play at all last year. And now it's just like, oh, we've already had these kids on the roster. It's like we got them out of the transfer portal. And we got kids from the Missouri Valley Conference out of the transfer portal to come to our program. They just happen to have been sitting there all last year. And so to have that continuity, I think is a great thing. So we will see. 4 wins last year. Certainly got to believe they can get that into double digits this year. How high up, time will tell. But that is where the Salukis will get going. I think that, again, the most important thing, win early, get some confidence, 5 home games in the early going, and we'll see how Coach Bond White and her Salukis can bounce back this season. Okay. Some other news and notes. We'll start with UIC's Danielle Middleton, who played for the Flames the last 2 seasons. She has signed her first professional contract with Club Deportivo Omega down in Chile. 2 years at Marquette, 3 years rather, at UIC. She averaged 10.5 points 2 years ago, 7.5 this past season. But congratulations to Danielle for signing her first professional contract there in Chile. Interesting. This was I guess the best way to put it, I don't know what the best way to put it was. Maybe sort of an accidental happening video as we wait. The presumptive number 1 team in the preseason poll in the Missouri Valley Conference, Illinois State, dealing with a little bit of injury issues right now as they had their first practice last week. Noah Powell, who is one of the higher ups there at Illinois State in their student journalism department, taking some video from their first practice. And what we saw was that Cameron Barnes, and you will see him in the back there, in a walking boot. And that's all the information we have on Cameron Barnes at this point, in uniform, but in a boot. 6'9" sophomore, played 17 games last year, averaged about 2 points per game, but certainly some interior depth for the Redbirds behind Chase Walker down the road. But Cameron Barnes injured for the time being. We hope to have an update on him at some point. The other most important part, I think, from that first practice was guys that had been dinged up to varying degrees. Ty Pence, Bowden Schoonberg, both practiced the whole time. And they're back, and they are ready to roll. Schoonberg, a guy that missed all of last year, averaged 14 points a game at North Dakota State 2 years ago. A huge addition for Ryan Peden's bunch this season, if he can stay healthy. Couldn't get through the summer, got dinged up. They, shut him down for a couple of weeks, and now he is back and, again, practiced fully. And so that is a huge plus and a huge addition there for the Redbirds of Illinois State. And finally, before we get out of here today, one old friend alert from our friends in Nashville and Belmont. Adam Barnes, who played for Rick Byrd from 2009 to 2013, went to 3 NCAA tournaments with the Bruins back in the day. He has been promoted to the assistant general manager of the New Orleans Pelicans. Barnes previously has been, it's his 7th year with the team. Previously was the director of college scouting for the Pelicans. He was the general manager of their G League affiliate, and now he has been promoted to the assistant general manager of the big club with the Pelicans. So congratulations to Adam Barnes. All right, that does it for this morning. And today's edition of Morning in the Valley, when we will have, there's 3 hours worth of Field of 68 Media Day coverage today. We will I will pound through that over the next day or so you don't have to watch the whole thing. We'll get have any news and notes from that coming up on Wednesday. Coming up Friday, we'll do our Valpo preview with Paul Oren. Next week is when Ben Jacobson, head coach at Northern Iowa, will join us. And again, hopefully here soon. We will not only have conference schedules, but also have preseason polls from the Missouri Valley Conference. We wait. Hopefully soon. Hopefully. We're tired of waiting. We're an impatient lot, aren't we? We just want a preseason poll 35 days before the start of the season. All right. Thanks to Luke Martin, as always, for being with us. If you haven't done so already, please go to YouTube, subscribe for free to Morning in the Valley, past show clips, past shows in their entireties. It is all there, broken down by team, so you can find your favorite Valley team. Appreciate all your support. As always, we'll be back Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. right here on Morning in the Valley.